Good morning. I'll now call to order the special meeting of the Indianapolis Marion County Public Library Board of Trustees. Ms. Gilbert, please call the roll.
Mr. Biederman.
Present.
Mr. Lane.
Present.
Dr. Murtada.
Present.
Dr. Palacio.
Present.
Dr. Payne.
Present.
Ms. Tribble.
Present.
And Dr. White.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. The purpose of this meeting, this special meeting, is to consider agenda items related to the 2024 library budget. And so we will now convene a public hearing. And during the public hearing, Ms. Lolita Campbell, CFO, will discuss the library budget. Okay, so I think we just move forward with that. So I will adjourn the special meeting and we'll convene a public hearing. And I'll ask Ms. Lolita Campbell, CFO, to discuss the library budget.
Good morning, Board President Tribble and Board Trustees. Thank you for coming this morning. Here with me I have Mary Rankin, who is the Treasurer of the Board. I will currently present the 2024 draft of the budget presentation during the public hearing.
We're sorry, we're having a quick technical difficulty. I apologize. Any microphone. Okay.
Did you want to go fix the Zoom first? It's even worse, bro.
Good morning.
And just keep talking.
Hello.
Okay. We have it.
Great.
My apologies, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Could you go ahead and go to the second slide, please? While crafting the draft of the 2024 budget, we always try to keep our mission and our vision in the forefront. So our budget calendar is, as a municipal corporation of Marion County, the Indianapolis Library budget is subject to review and approval by both the Library Board and the City County Council. So in June 14th, I did a quick review with the Finance Committee on our board in regards to the draft of the budget, and as of today, we have the public hearing August the 15th. On the 28th of the board meeting, the board will approve the draft of the budget, and then I will do a presentation on September the 20th. There will be a public hearing on October the 2nd for the city county meeting in hopes that it will be reviewed and passed on October the 4th. And then the budget will be adopted on October the 16th. The strategic plan priorities were to keep in the forefront of the racial equity and partnerships that we have established and digital and technology inclusions, supporting local educators in reading and writing, health and wellness literacy, and financial literacy. This is the library at a glance for 2022. The circulation was slightly lower than 2021. However, our visits were a little, there was an increase in visits. And then we also had increase in cardholders who are active borrowers. So we also had a great increase in our programs compared to last year. And our average participants per program increased. And our share system increased as well. So this is some of the highlights of the glance for 2022. This is our proposed 2024 budget. As you can see there's a trend, not a trend, but you'll see 2024 and 2023 of the budget. And there is a slight increase from operating of 5.85% change. This is similar to last year. Last year was a 6% increase. And our debt service has increased to 39.21%. This is because we have 3 bonds that, as of yesterday, at the City County Council was introduced that we're trying to attain approval for that, and that is $18.3 million of bonds. And then the rainy day is still the same at $1 million. This is for us if we have any expenses that happen while we're waiting on the bonds. We can utilize the rainy day funds. And then LERF, we kept it at $250,000. We're still considering a new accounting software. We currently have Munis. So we're utilizing that fund if we're going to either get a new software or update the Munis software that we have now. So the 2024 budget is $82,900,477, and that is a 13.3% increase from 2023, our current budget. Okay. Go ahead. The lower half of this page, you'll see the DLGF review fund. These are adopted tax and levy rate funds, and as you can see that we always on the 0182, it is we always try to stay at the adopted tax rate of 0.0318. Okay, the tax rate history. Again, it shows that we're consistent with our debt service of 0.0318, and our operating tend to stay consistent as well. And we're a little higher than we are for the 2024 budget, a little higher than we are currently for the 2023. So some of our 2024 budget focus was invest in health and wellness through initiatives, through innovative programs, resources, and collaborations. Develop a culture of racial equity by using the DEI structure, strengthen organizational framework, continue to increase collaboration with the share system, adapt library services, and leverage technology to improve services to patrons, retain and recruit talented, diverse, exceptional skilled workforce, provide a welcoming, inclusive, accessible, and safe environment at all branch locations, and community support and partnerships. Here are some of our challenges that we have for the 2024 budget. The maximum levy growth quotient is capped at 4%. And this is, the MLGQ is just to ensure that the property tax increase remains at a reasonable rate. Therefore, that affects us because our property taxes, our revenue is 80% of property taxes, so therefore it's going to stay flat. The impact of the circuit breaker estimate at 17% of the levy in 2024. This reduces our property tax collections. So in last year, I think we estimated at 20%, but now it's at 17%, which is better, but not great. And our growth in our levy freeze amount, so there's no growth there. and the lack of comparable shares of lit certified shares with other libraries. And that has always been a consistent issue with us. And we have some great advocates for us, and they're going to try to maybe advocate for maybe incremental increases, but that's not guaranteed. So expenditure challenges we have are increase in personnel costs, meeting the demands of e-resources, and lack of flexibility due to high fixed costs. And also increase in ongoing costs of technology and trends towards software as services. So here's our proposed 2024 operating fund budget. So here you'll see the 2022 actuals and our adopted budget for this current year and our proposed 2024 budget. You'll see a slight increase for the property taxes, and that is about almost a 6% increase, and then a slight decrease for the intergovernmental funds. It typically stays flat, so we wouldn't see too much of an increase from there. Then charges for services stay flat as well. And the fines is approximately it's lower than it is for this current year, but most likely may stay flat as well. The other revenue has increased. That is because of the interest that we've been investing our funds in, and we've been doing great with that, and we plan to invest more funds to increase that revenue as well. And the expenses for the character one is a little bit more increase, and that is due to personnel services, the salary being increased, and then the supplies, and there's been an increase in supply expenses. The other services and charges is an increase there as well, and our capital outlay. And as you can see, our expenses are more than our revenue, and we will utilize our cash reserve to offset that, the difference. The operating funds revenue. So as I kind of went over before, 80% of our revenue is property taxes. So I don't know why. That kind of caught me off guard, why the names are not in the pie. But it's printed out in our.
No, that's property tax.
I know, but it's not showing. But the greater pie is the property taxes. That is 80%. And the 4% growth is due to the MLGQ, and it's not going to be higher than 4% in the circuit breaker credits. So in our intergovernmental funds, you see that that is a low percentage as well. That's 16% of our revenue. And the other receipts is 3% of our revenue. Our personnel cost is 66% of our expenses. So as you can see, that is a great increase right there, and that's mainly dealing with trying to budget for possibly a 4% increase, and we also have additional pay for the 2024, and then we're also increasing our benefits. So we're trying to keep our employees in mind when we budgeting for the 2024. Supplies has increased as well, and that has been ongoing, and hopefully that will start flattening out within year 2025 or 26. And then our other services and charges, there is a slight increase there as well, and that is 26% of our expenses. So our two largest expenses are the personnel services and other services and charges. So that is at least 90% of our expenses right there. Next slide. The debt service. And this is a summary of all of our bonds that we have. The last three are the ones that we're proposing to receive soon of this year, which is the 2023 A, B, and C for the Central, Norm, and Pike Branch. As stated earlier, last night, it was approved to move forward to the the full board of the City County Council for their review and approval. And here's an update, our Fort Bend grand opening, which is this Saturday. Looking forward to attending, so I hope everyone will be there. This is our rainy day. Again, this is, we have $1 million budgeted for this, and this is include any expenses for constructions or anything pertaining to capital expenses until our bonds come through. And then LERF, again, as stated, this is for our Munis software upgrade or our new accounting software. And here's our long-range plan. I know everyone looks forward to looking at this to see where we are, and as you can see, we kind of have a healthy cash balance of our fund balance, and this is because we have always tried to underspend in our expenses and be very conservative. As you look prior, you see that our expenses always outweigh our revenue. Therefore, we always have to utilize our fund balance to cover the differences. So when we're conservative, we kind of plan further out instead of utilizing all the funds quickly. And then we have to go ask the City County Council for additional appropriations, and we try to eliminate that. Any questions?
Are there questions? Yes, Dr. Palacio.
On these projections, how are you making the for example, 2027, 28 projections on the property taxes? As we're seeing property value go up?
We make these projections. We have a consultant who helps us with this, and based on the trends and what he hears, through the grapevine, he helps us with this. So that's how we make these projections. And he will be here at the Finance Committee at 10:30 to go through the long-term plan with everyone.
And then if I can.
Please.
So on the personnel, I was looking at some of the job openings, and they're listed at $16 an hour for pages and PSAs. Is it a goal to bring our salaries or wages up to $18 an hour livable wage at some point?
We're working on that, and that's why we have an increase in costs. And right now, I currently have a conversation with our CEO, so we haven't came up with the final plan yet, but we're working on that.
Okay, I'm interested in that. Thanks.
In line with what Dr. Palacio was asking about personnel, does the budget for next year, does that include funds or money for new positions?
Yes, it does.
And
Well, what do you mean by new positions? We have funds available for open positions that we haven't filled yet, but new FTEs,
Yeah.
if the managers have, during our management budget meetings, if they have included or told or informed me that they needed a new position, I have included that in the budget.
Okay, so that request will come from the branch managers and come to the arms to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Are there other questions? Can I ask, on the tax rate history slide, would you mind, can you walk through this a little more specifically about our total tax rate, the operating tax rate, and the debt service? So it looks like, if, just looking at the history, our current total tax rate is 0.1300, which is actually lower than most years here, with the exception of 2023. Can you talk about that a little bit in terms of what we're seeing on the tax rate, you or Mary?
Yeah, so the first line is the debt service, which is the bonds. So again, we try to stay within the 0.0318, which is factored into the total tax rate. The operating tax rate is dealing with the property taxes that we receive. So it could be the circuit breaker affecting that, as well as any other intergovernmental revenue that we receive from lit, co-ed, or CVET, or anything like that. So that's incorporated in our tax rate. So when you come to the total tax rate, this year, 2023, is 0.1223, which is much lower than it has been in the past. That is most likely due to the circuit breaker from the 2023 when it was projected. Now that the circuit breaker and the circuit breaker and the MG, let me make sure I get that acronym right. I think it's MLGQ is at a flat, therefore, this, that was incorporated in operating as well. So when you average that up, and that's why, yes, in 2024, it's 0.300, which has been less than it has in the previous, but it's more than the current year. It's just a lot of factors taking place, depending on what the circuit breaker is and stuff like that. And this is the tax rate per $100 assessment. So we're getting, for this current year, 12 cents out of $100.
Right.
And that is just a portion of the pie that is, part of the municipal. So we're in with the city, the Marion County, the hospital, the schools, and so we just get a little portion of that pie.
You also had an increase in assessed valuation too. didn't you?
Yeah,
That's good.
correct.
And then one other question, just for a little more transparency, on our expenditure challenges, you know that there's a lack of flexibility due to high fixed costs. What are those? What are some of those high fixed costs that we're referring to there?
So we have rent, mortgage, we have the bonds, that's a fixed cost, and that's very high.
The utilities.
Yeah, utilities.
Maintenance,
Okay.
landscaping, everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Relating to grounds and asset maintenance. Okay.
And we have the extra building into next year, all year.
Okay.
Really an extra 2 buildings, because Glendale, while we have it open now, I mean, it's rented space, and it will be a bigger facility, I believe.
And going above that, the revenue challenges, talk a little bit, if you could, about comparable share of, LIT is local income tax certified shares, right? What are comparable rates for other Indiana libraries? What does our rate look like compared to other Indiana libraries?
I actually thought I printed one off, but I guess I must have left it on the printer. So compared to other surrounding counties, we're only receiving 1% of lit. Well, actually less than 1%, I just rounded up. Other comparable libraries are receiving like between 15 to, I think the highest is 33% of lit. And I do understand that Marion County, we have the highest population and stuff, but you'd think because we're part of the pie, we get a higher portion as well. We're the library, and we're an essential part of the community, but we do not.
Are there other, and just so that everyone understands, are there other parts of our revenue in Marion County that the library receives that other county libraries may not receive? Like, would they say that we get some benefit in our revenue shares that they don't get?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
all right. Are there any other questions,
Yes.
Dr. Palacio?
So on the budget operating fund, on the personnel services, there's between 22 actuals and 23 adopted, there's a $9 million difference, 31%. But then between the 23 and 24, there's 2 million difference, 5%.
The-
Could you explain that?
Yeah, the difference between the 22 actual and the 23 budgeted, sorry. If you remember, we did a compensation increase. We brought everyone up to market and then we also gave a 5% increase. So it was whichever was higher, and therefore that we had to budget into, assume that. And that's why there's a big difference right there.
So then the follow-up with my last question,
The-
why we're not doing the same this year?
Well, we brought everybody up to market, and therefore we don't foresee that we have to do the same process again. We are incorporating possibly a 4% increase as far as a raise, but as we know now that everyone should be up to market. There's other things that we're looking at as far as longevity raises, but that's not guaranteed. We're just still doing analysis of that.
So when you say market, who's your competitor for talent? Because if I pass by a CVS, it's $20 an hour. So if I'm gonna have to choose between 16 at the library or 20 at CVS, and I am financially strained, I will go with CVS. So is it that we're comparing to other public institutions only, or are we seeing the private sector as a competitor, but not including that in the market analysis?
Other public sectors, yeah.
Okay.
And we're doing
That
our
makes
best to move, increase the salary range, but we can only do it in incremental stages. And, just to be conservative and think about the long-term plan as well.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? You said the long-range plan, you'll be going into more detail at the Finance Committee meeting later this morning, okay. So I'll save questions for that. Are there any other questions?
Madam President, I move that we close the public meeting.
You need to ask for public comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there anyone present who wishes to speak from the public? Can you, yes, so we need you to come to one of the mics at the table, please.
Here, I'll get
Sorry I came in late. I just read the first page of the agenda, and it said 10 o'clock for a special meeting, and I didn't. And I saw the 10:30 for the Finance Committee meeting, so I apologize for being late. But if you would go back to where it says challenges, expenditure challenges, the first one is about increasing personnel services costs. Last month we had a resolution that moved $800,000 out of our salary budget, and there's a lot of discussion about it, but at the same time, that still gives it's real hard to just see that $800,000 taken out of salaries when we're seeing this right here, increasing personnel services. And I know there's been discussions about where it was going and places it was going. And I was looking at the year-to-date budget for last year, and it seems like all those budgets where the money was being allocated had surpluses still, money left in there. So just looking at that immediately, I'm thinking, okay, we're taking money out of salaries to put in those other buckets, but yet there's money still left in there. I understand that, you didn't use it all and you don't always use it all, but the first impression is that why are we taking money out of salaries when we're advertising we're having increasing personnel costs as a challenge? So that's my comment, and I wanted to make it a point without it going unnoticed as a public comment and as a personnel and a person who works here as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Is there anyone else present who wishes to comment? If there are no additional comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Ms. Tribble,
Yes.
just wanted to thank Lolita for all the work that she's done and her team putting this together. That's a wonderful graphs presentation and then public comment as well to make it known that employees are important.
Thank you. So we'll now have a roll call to approve the closing of the public hearing.
Mr. Biederman.
Approve?
Mr. Lane.
Approve.
Dr. Matata.
Approve?
Dr. Palacio.
Approve?
Dr. Payne.
Approve.
And Ms. Tribble.
Approve.
And Dr. White.
Approve.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion carries. The public hearing is adjourned and the regular meeting is reconvened. Is there any other business to be discussed? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, this meeting has been, the motion has been received and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.